we'll get started because we can always rehash a little bit. The first topic really was to fill everybody in on the billing. And what we were doing is we have a second biller, MedWave, and any prescription that comes in and it's not, if it's out of network or if the insurance company isn't willing to do what we expect them to do, we're going to have MedWave follow up with single case agreements or getting into the network with the particular group or provider. One example of that would be a group in New York, MVP. I think it's about 1 million patients in their system. So what we're going to do is if there is a denial, we're going to make the second effort to make sure that we're doing everything we can for the patient. And I know Taft's gone through this, Wendy has, and it's very frustrating for the patient, for the provider, and for our sales reps. So it's going to be very important for us to follow up and provide as much assistance as we can. And they're very highly regarded. There are some services that rate these groups, and they're consistently rated number 1 or 2 in the country. And Lauren Law and her husband Alex have an excellent organization, and we'll be working very closely with them as we go down the road here. And I'd welcome any questions right now as far as the follow-up on the billing or any comments. Wendy, Taft, Vin, you might just follow up a little bit with how we're doing it, if you'd be good enough to share that with us.
Yeah, so I'm working closely with MedWave. As Stefan said, any of the orders that are coming in, and we call them a low pay, meaning some of these Advantage plans decide to pay us a couple of $100. Well, that's not feasible. And MedWave, through these SCAs or single case agreements, as Stefan said, believe they can get better funding. So we've agreed we're probably going to do that on a weekly basis rather than send them 1 or 2 a day. Probably on a Friday, we'll collect them all and send them to them, and we'll be keeping track of them on a spreadsheet that they're going to be providing. So it should be pretty well organized. The only drawback, not a drawback, is, and not to get too deep into it, is it might currently, if you get a Medicare order through Solidity and it comes through today, the insurance goes through fine, we're probably shipping it the next day. So these orders might be delayed a little more. And you might have to have a conversation with the doctor's office and saying, we're working through this. There's an insurance, however you want to phrase it. Maybe we should talk about that. But it could be delayed a little bit compared to a Medicare order. But it's all a good thing. I mean, you'll make more money, we'll make more money. It's all a good thing.
And the patient will
the
get
patient makes out. The patient's going to get the unit.
So I think we sent about 13 or 14 to them this week that they're going to start on. And as Vin said, I think we talked to Lauren, and we'll accumulate them. And if there's 4, 5, 6, whatever there is, we'll get them to them, and they'll manage them as quickly as possible. And it's a lot better to handle it this way than for the patient not to end up with the device. So that's where we're going. And if there's any questions on it, feel free to follow up. You will know when we're doing it. And I think it'll also, we're also, and this is very important. We're starting negotiations with the 5 largest insurance providers, be United Healthcare, Aetna, Cigna, and we will try to get. And I think we're going to, Lauren and Alex have been doing this in the past, and they're fairly confident. We've given them the materials to go to the large insurance companies and obtain a national agreement with them. So it doesn't matter if it's in Arkansas or Georgia or New York or California or wherever, we'll have an agreement in place with these insurance carriers for a fixed amount. And the consensus is that it'll be higher than the Medicare reimbursement, which is also a very good point. But right now, it's sort of a shotgun effect because Blue Cross in each state is a little bit different. But with Aetna and CG and Cigna, I still call it CG, Connecticut General was the parent company. But I think that'll go a long ways to smoothing out the entire uh, claims processing. And that's what
Stefan?
we're, yes, Wendy?
Yeah. So will these contract negotiations, say with UHC, include their Medicare replacement plans?
Yes.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
the advantage of the replacement plans, yeah. Yeah. And, the thing is, uh, uh, I think for us, it's the best approach to take because we don't have to fight or contend with each state's interpretation. You have a national basis. Here's the benefits. Here's how you pay it. And here's what we're going to do. So that'll be the case. And I've sent Lauren a lot of the background information on what it does because right now they don't know the difference between the old traditional type of neuromuscular electrical stimulation device and our product, and that's very important because there's a big difference. So we'll go forward with that as quickly as possible. Now the other item we had on our agenda is the field sales guides. And we've sent out, I think if you don't have the trifolds, let us know and we'll get them out to you. As far as the Evan and Cece put together about 7 or 8 product comparisons with other compression devices and other technologies, what the advantages, comparison, what the benefits are of the VenoPlus versus, well, a Kendall unit for one, which is the one that's used in the hospitals. So as we go forward, we've got the information for you, basically the one-page sheets that you can give to the doctor if you want, or just for your own purposes for comparison. The other thing is, and I'd like to get some feedback, we sent out 3 field study guides just to try to show what the differences are with what the advantages of the VenoPlus are with competitive products, whether it's compression stockings or compression devices. And I'd like to get some feedback from everyone to see what, if anything, they would like to add to it, or if they have any questions. Uh, uh, so kind of open it up for questions just on that, on those 3 handouts that we sent out. So
Unmute. Can you hear me?
we can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. So I have a unique, this is Chris Landing. I have a unique situation. I had knee replacement surgery last Wednesday. So I've been using the Veno Plus ever since. You need the stockings though, because I learned really quickly is I ripped off the leads. In fact, I finally severed one yesterday, so my leads don't work anymore. But uh, because I'm rehabbing with my leg up in the air uh, and at an angle, every time I move, it'll just roll those things right off your leg. So the compression stockings really help just to isolate the leads, and they'll last longer that way. That's kind of like a little tip, depending on how they're using it, because not everybody is going to be sitting at a 90-degree bend and at a chair when they use this.
Hey, Chris, I really appreciate you sharing about that. My father-in-law is getting a total knee first week of June, and I was hoping to have him try one of these out as well. So I think you're saying like, yeah, using one of those compression stockings or like one of those sleeves that you can put over your legs should probably be
Yeah.
helpful.
Or a large
People-
ski sock will work too. I've got one. I got one compression sock on one leg and a,
Yep,
ski sock on the other.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. I've got all kinds of little
I don't know.
knickknacks for holding things in place. So yeah.
Is there a way of getting a replacement? I filled out all the forms, and my doctor was more than happy to send in the information, but I didn't have the chart notes. I didn't realize it at the time. I needed the chart notes, so um, it's not going to be an automatic fill until I um, get that handled.
Well, Chris, do you need some more electrodes?
Yeah, I could use another set.
I'll
It sounds
send you
like he
some.
needs the pigtails too.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole wire piece, maybe. I know the pigtails are ripped on the one. Um, so
Well, we'll get you your cable is okay, correct? Or is it?
I think my cable is okay. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we'll get you some electrodes. The thing is that the uh, the original electrodes we received, they were shipped over here almost 2 years ago,
mhm.
and some of we got a brand new shipment just a while back. But there are a couple of things that can be done. One, obviously, you can put the compression stockings over them. The other
Mhm.
thing is there's a solution that's a electrolytic solution called the Parker. It's about $4 or $5 a bottle. It sprays on, and then it has increases the adherence and also the uh, conductivity. So that's helpful. The next generation of product, the electrodes will actually have a strap that goes around them. So it'll
Okay.
be a little bit different, but for the time being, you can secure them. I mean, you can put just a piece of elastic bandage, we used to call them, around them
Uh,
to secure them. But
yeah, my doctor does 700 knees a year, so some simple math said I got to stay on top of this guy
yeah,
and get him to convert.
well, that Anthony can tell you right now about the DVT prevention, if you wouldn't mind just going over it one more time, because one of the indications for use is for post-surgical DVT prevention.
Yes, that's the study. It was done and published in the International Journal of Angiology, I believe. It took 80 patients, and this was a controlled, a prospective controlled study, and they applied the VenoPlus on 40 and did not apply the VenoPlus on the control group, and followed all with a color duplex examination of their venous system. And the the control group developed deep venous thrombosis in 25%, and that was with low dose heparin 3 times a day and uh, compression stockings. The group that got the VenoPlus, their incidence of deep venous thrombosis was 2.5%. So it dropped from 25% to 2.5%. So it dropped 90% in essence. And
Does the Vena Plus group take heparin as well? I'm sorry for
yes, the VenoPlus group received heparin and the stockings. So the only thing that was different in was the application of the VenoPlus. And when you look at the velocity of blood in the venous system when you have these units applied, it's really quite impressive, and it's understandable that blood is not going to clot in a system that has a very high flow rate. The peak systolic velocity went up considerably when this was monitored in the vascular laboratory by Andrew Nicolaides and colleagues. So, and then in addition, there's a change in the underlying coagulation, so that the coagulation system is stimulated to basically activate the plasminogen activators and reduce the risk that way, as well as a reduction in prothrombotic activity. So there's a lot of reasons why the blood does not want to clot when you have a VenoPlus applied.
I think too, Anthony, one of the other real considerations is the VenoPlus for Chris, your knee surgery is a good example. Not only do you get an increased return volume, venous return, but the arterial flow is also increased significantly. I think in the Nicolaides study, Anthony, was what, 7 times, if I remember right. And you're increasing the arterial flow. You can't use a compression device for somebody who has severe or PAD. It's a contraindication for PAD if it's 0.8 or less, because it compresses the flow of blood. Whereas the VenoPlus, with its positive action compared to a passive action, is increasing the flow of blood, and basically the entire vascular system is enhanced. And of course, the flow of oxygen and the results that you get are pretty incredible. So it's something, I think, from a standpoint of your orthopedic surgeons, not only are you getting the return flow, but you're also getting a very enhanced arterial flow from the VenoPlus. And that is in our indications for use, the increased blood flow. So I think that's a very significant thing, something that the compression devices cannot duplicate. So 700 surgeries, Chris, that's a lot.
Yes.
And send
My
me
appointment's next Tuesday, so hopefully I can close them.
yeah, well, if he's got any questions, we certainly can follow up with him as well. And I'll get your electrodes out tomorrow. Now, just on a separate email, send me the address you want them sent to. Okay.
Okay.
Then we'll get them to you. So you're well prepared, because when I had my hip surgery, and I've repeated this a number of times, so because it's boring, but I used the VenoPlus instead of the plasma flow. And I used it literally 12 hours a day. And
Wow.
I was not using I didn't have to use a walker. I used a cane, but I was actually driving, and I wouldn't recommend it. I was driving my car 4 days after my surgery, and playing golf 10 days after my surgery. So it was a quick recovery.
Wow.
And that's anecdotal, which doesn't mean much, but that was just my experience. And I think that, doing the exercises as they prescribe and VenoPlus makes a big difference. So we'll take care of that. Any comments or any additional information that we could put into these field study guides that anybody has, or any questions about it? There's a lot of yeah.
Hey, it's Matt from out here in San Diego. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yep, Matt.
Hey, got a question for you. I did a little research on VenoPlus over the past week or so, and I've discovered that it was initially launched in the mid 2000s. I don't know if you have any information regarding the history of the product, but or why it sort of stalled. You know, it really seems to me it should be the gold standard at this point with regard to venous leg ulcers at the very least. So I thought I'd get an idea of when, if you're familiar with the first launch, what sort of support or representation there was, and then any additional subsequent launches, and then
Yeah.
any feedback that any sort of general, like global feedback from doctors or clinicians regarding any specific challenges, stuff like that might be helpful.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I do have a lot of information on that. Dr. Sawinski, who developed the technology, and Anthony knows him, and we had a great conversation a few years ago. Dr. Sawinski was a professor at Harvard and MIT, and he has about 30 patents, mostly on the pacemaker area. But he developed the VenoPlus because he had Leiden factor 5, which is a blood clotting issue. And he wanted to get off, at that time, the warfarin. So he and Dr. Nicolaitis, but primarily the waveforms that Joseph developed were truly unique. They're in nanoseconds as opposed to milliseconds. And we're going to have a session that'll be a morning session because our director of engineering is about 12 hours, 10 and a half hours ahead of us. So we're going to have that session coming up here in the next few weeks. But the history goes, Joseph had a company called Valmed. And this may be a little bit boring, but it was neuromuscular electrical stimulation. And he had a variety of, the company was headquartered in Sion, Switzerland. And they sold primarily in Europe. It was a neuromuscular electrical stimulation device competing. Well, Compex was an offshoot. There were some guys that had worked for him before, and there was a Swedish company as well. So these were the kind of the pioneers in the neuromuscular electrical stimulation. And I got to know Joseph back in the early 1990s, I guess it was, or late mid 90s. And he developed it as a product for the vascular system. And they they had a company called Adrem, which was headquartered in France. They focused on the European market and the Asian market, and the indications for use in Europe were different. They're more extensive. They a lot of their prescriptions were for indications that we can't claim here for healing ulcers and so on. The problem they had was they were undercapitalized and they didn't really have the marketing expertise. The individuals that were involved with the company had come from a consumer product line, and they didn't market it to the medical community the way it should have been marketed in Europe or Asia. But they sold 175,000 units in that time frame. So it was going along. We were contacted because they wanted to go in the U.S. market, and they had appointed one small distributor, and he had made some sales. But they also, we had to be very careful because some of the claims that they made here were not supported by the IFUs. So just for that information. But the company, to make a long story a little bit shorter, it was undercapitalized and they didn't use the right marketing approach. That's about as straightforward as you can get. Now, I think the gold standard, we would like to make the VenoPlus the gold standard for certain category of patients, just like the St. Jude heart valve was a gold standard for many years. It offers a lot of advantages that we don't have in the compression devices. But it's an educational process because as much as we'd like to think that everybody understands it, that's not the case. It's a pioneering effort, and one that I think as we proceed, we're going to have a situation where it becomes a gold standard for many, many practices. And we're going to try to increase. We've got 2 other products that have been FDA cleared. We want to concentrate on the medical first, and then we'll deal with the others as time goes on. But that's the history of the company. The French company kind of went along, but they didn't have the resources to enter the U.S. market effectively, and they hadn't marketed the product properly. And hindsight's always 2020, or you really, don't understand what's going on. But that was a history of the company. Very good people. Dr. Sawinski's a brilliant individual. Plus, he's just an outstanding person, which makes a big difference. And he's been doing this. He's 91 years old, so he's been doing it for a long time. And I still use one of his pacemakers in Europe. So I think that in a nutshell is the history of the company, and it really looking at it as really a new company for the U.S. with what we're doing today. So I don't know, Matt, if that gives you more information, but if people ask you, that's kind of the history.
Terrific. Thank you very much for that. You're mentioning this Dr. Sawinski. Just for a point of reference, how does he spell his name? Is it with an S as in Sam or?
It's Cywinski. If you Google him on Wikipedia, there's about 25 pages on him.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Perfect.
And
thanks, Stefan.
Dr. Nicolaitis, and Anthony knows this. He's Tom Rook at the Mayo Clinic. We were in a meeting there, and I'll never forget. He said he made the pilgrimage, and I can't remember if it was Cyprus or Crete, but anyhow, Andrew Nicolaitis is very highly regarded in the vascular surgical community. And Anthony, I don't know, you can probably add more to that because you know him, and I've talked to him quite a few times, but he's just a real gentleman and a brilliant individual.
Well, you summarized it very, very well, Stefan. We're good friends. We have a lot of crossover in some of the things we were interested in studying, and as a result of that, we became very good professional friends.
Well, he's a classic guy. In fact, what he would do, just to kind of give you the type of individual he was, he would buy 300-400 units every year himself and give out to his countrymen, people who needed them. And it says a lot about a person who will do something like that. So it's a real gentleman. And he was at the Imperial College of Medicine for years. And I'm trying to remember, there was a very highly regarded lady who worked with him there. And I think she was also associated with La Salle University or Loyola University in Chicago. She passed away a few years ago. It's a very tight community. And I think I'm going to, Joseph is still very active. He's involved with us. And I'm going to, one of our next product training sessions, I think we'll have him on and have him give you a little bit of background about the whole industry, if you'd like. I think it'd be very interesting. His family, he escaped from Poland during the communist, his family, his father had been an officer in the Polish army during World War II and was one of the few that wasn't executed by the Russians. And his family, because of their background, were exiled to an area of Poland called Silesia, which was a poorest part. So he had to fight for his education. And he's just a wonderful gentleman and a good friend. So, he's really, in many respects, sort of the father of neuromuscular electrical stimulation devices, for sure. A lot of the devices you see on the market are offshoots of his technology. Anyhow, man, I hope that gives you a little bit. If somebody asks you where this, why is when, why, and where, you've got a little bit of background. And we may publish something on that, on the history of the company on the website too, for the technology. So, if there's any other questions, what I would encourage everybody to do is submit them to our marketing people. And like I said, if there's a need to have a one-on-one with any physicians, we're also available for that. So encourage everyone. I think probably, unless there's any other questions, I've been talking too much anyway. And I did go to a doctor today, an ENT doctor, to find out if I could get my old voice back. And it's a bit of an effort. So we'll see what happens. But I think with that, if no one has any other questions, I think we'll wrap it up. And if you think of anything, please get back to us. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Stefan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Have a
Steph.
good
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.